Gather round. Let's talk about the new Essendon. Massive win against a premiership favourite, no less, in Adelaide. Welcome back to the Don Pod. I'm here with Nathan. Mr. Nathan, hello.
See the bombers fly up. I know you don't like singing, Sam.
No, that's the energy I was trying to bring, and it just didn't come out that way.
I've got the energy. Don't you worry, buddy. I'll bring
You bring the energy, I'll bring the terrible puns, which I'm sure isn't a new pun from the weekend. How are you? Did I ask that? How are you?
Oh, I am a man of mixed emotions.
Mixed emotions.
I am very confused. I'm very excited. I'm very nervous, but I'm here and I'm looking forward to discussing
and we're going to
how
go through
in the we beat Melbourne.
Yeah, and we're going to go through every single one of those emotions over the next hour. So strap in.
The next several months.
Yeah, well, that too, but just the hour specifically. 15 goals, 14, 104, defeating Melbourne 11, 77. I mean, we'll get into it, but just an incredible game of football. If you're a Don, plus 15 disposals, but we won the contested ball, which was evident. Pretty close other than that. I mean, only plus 2 inside 50s. We lost the clearances, plus 18 marks. That normally indicates that you controlled the game a lot more than your opponent. Plus 6 marks inside 50 as well, which on a wet day proved quite critical. And 71 tackles, which is a lot of tackles for the Essendon Football Club.
And a couple of boys there, first game back in Snelling and new to the club, Setterfield, were leading that charge.
Yep. In the big sticks, Draper 3 goals, Phillips, Martin, you and your buddy Ruckman. Phillips, Martin, Langford, Hind 2, Stringer, Snelling, Perkins and Jones 1. Merritt 35 touches, 8 score involvements, 7 tackles, 4 clearances, 9 inside 50s. Big Das, 8 score involvements, 602 metres gained, equal first for the match. Equal first. I don't know how you get equal first in a metres gained, but anyway.
You equal someone.
Yeah, I know, but it's quite unlikely, isn't it? To get exactly the same number of metres.
I don't know how they measure it. Like, seriously, are they got a little GPS in the football? How do they know exactly how many metres it's gone?
Don't ask me about stats. I've got no idea about half of them. And 8's inside 50s for Das as well. But we better start with where we think the game was won. And I don't think it takes much of a footballing genius to look in the way of Big Sammy Draper and Big Flipper, Aaron Francis Phillips.
I'd go a step further and say that it was possibly one in the coach's box.
That too, but it's one thing to make a decision and then to have your players come out and execute
and follow it. Yeah,
and this isn't a word I throw around lightly with the Essendon Football Club. Flawlessly.
We just talked earlier about when was the last time we out-coached someone? Like, seriously?
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time since we've thought, geez, we beat that. And I reckon if I was a Melbourne podcaster and I'm sitting there doing the review of the game, I'm going, geez, we got out-coached. Like, you know, we just didn't think, we didn't have a plan for the 2 big guys. We didn't think about it. Which
is something we've mentioned.
We do all the time. We're professionals at it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Not this year. Not under the Scott. So Draper, I mean, 14 touches, 3 goals. That was the critical.
3 goals by half time.
Yeah. 4 marks, 3 of which were contested, and a couple of clearances for himself. Flipper, 12 touches, 2 goals, 6 marks, 3 of which were contested, and 2 clearances.
And
Brody
that
had a decent day, 18 touches and a few marks and a few clearances, but no goals. Didn't hit him on the scoreboard.
Had an opportunity to a couple of times, but just sort of went, I'll just handball it. In this
he went a bit too hard at I need to get one back.
Yeah.
I think I'd be critical of him for not just passing the ball earlier when he had options.
Or just have kick it.
And then he panicked. Yeah, back yourself. Yeah. If you're going to back yourself,
if you've run that far, just kick it. Like, you're only 20 or 30 metres out by the time you get a handball it, you dickhead.
But it is just... like, almost... I was speechless. Sitting there watching it. Just completely speechless.
I was confused.
Very confused. That's one of the emotions.
But it's the development of Draper. I mean, Flipper's always had that ability to take some marks and be around the ground.
He's a great second ruck.
He's been a great second ruck for a long, long time. Can sometimes look like a baby, like how he just collapses.
He doesn't quite know how to use his limbs.
Falls down. What happened there?
That's all right.
But the improvement, and this is the natural improvement of a player like Draper that we're seeing that he's getting a few more possessions. He's also, I think, one of the things that's noticed, he's taken marks, and I would have been pretty critical of him late last year and throughout other periods. He just needs to clunk a few more, and he's starting to do that, which is great because that makes such a difference. Like,
It does
as a
make a huge
defensive,
difference.
and you see Gawn do this really well normally for Melbourne as a defensive marker. And now if you can go forward and be that threat, when we get right back and he drifts forward, it's going to be very challenging.
Yeah. A couple of moments I want to mention, one for each ruckman. Draper absolutely smacked into Tomlinson second quarter on the near wing, as you're watching on the broadcast.
Yep.
I mean, fair play. Tomlinson got up.
Yeah.
I would still be on the deck.
What about when Draper came in over McDonald in the ruck? He made him fair and square in the back.
The umpire sold him an absolute dream with that. Just hold the ball for a minute, ump.
Yep. Just came in, perfect time, stuck the knee in, poor old McDonald's down on the ground and go, ooh, that hurts.
Yeah, and that's purely the umpire's fault too.
Yeah.
But just the commitment and the ferocity of which Draper just absolutely smacked in. Fair bump. Ball was there.
Yeah.
Just loved it. And the Phillips smother. That possibly fourth quarter it might have been. Now, I mean, I expect a lot of my players, that's fine, but I don't expect a big ruckman to be making those sorts of smothers. I think you can be forgiven perhaps just for maybe letting that one go, especially when you're
over there and going
7 foot 32-year-old.
Yep.
But commitment, that's what we're seeing from all of them. So it's just unreal.
And it was these marking again forward. He went forward and got in front, got free kicks, took marks. They made a difference and it helped. It made Melbourne worry about them, which then allowed the guys like Langford and Stringer and that to get around.
And critically, 5 goals straight.
Oh, yeah. And
between them.
I think Phillips had kicked 2 points, I reckon, the week before. I reckon he had a couple of shots.
He actually has a really nice set shot. He missed one. He missed an easy one last week.
It's a long way to drop a ball, though.
It is a long way. That just asks Draper. Did you see after the game? He's kicked 3 goals, had one of his better games, probably his best, I would argue. Mm-hmm. And he gets interviewed by Mark Rasciuto, who goes, "Oh, you're not the best kick, but you've kicked 3." Get stuff.
Harsh.
Wouldn't be doing another interview if I was.
Did you hear the name of his previous footy team?
No.
Somebody help me out. It was something like the it
was bizarre. Yeah,
the flies, the wine flies, or
yep.
Something like that. Right. If anyone knows on the chat can help me out with that.
Yep.
I've never heard I don't know that as a footy
it
sort of.
Fits, though, doesn't
what the logo would be.
A wine fly, obviously. It fits Sammy Draper, though. Let's be honest. Speaking of work rate, you touched on it earlier. And I want to break this up into 2. I want to talk about Snelling and then I want to talk about Setterfield. So the overarching thing here is 10 tackles each. That is phenomenal.
And last year we were screaming out for our players to tackle.
And I was a bit surprised Snelling came straight back in ahead of Hobbs, ahead of Voss. A little bit surprised. But again, credit to the coaches who, surprise, know more than I do.
That's why we do a podcast.
That's why we do a podcast, and they
coach the actual team.
Yes. Snelling was great. There was an effort, and if you're on Twitter, there's an account that just posts little snippets of videos. I can't remember what it's called. I'm sorry. And there was a passage of play on the far wing with Snelling made 4 efforts to tackle and ended up, I think, maybe forcing the 50-50 when Melbourne had clear possession.
Yep.
They were off. But it was 4 back-to-back efforts to tackle and harass. And he actually got distance in his kick. That was something we were critical of last year. He could kick over a tin can or whatever we said. But just the repeat efforts to keep going.
Well, he should have kicked 2 in the first quarter, really. He missed it. We were a bit wayward with a few set shots.
What were we, 4-6 in the second quarter?
4-6 in the second, and there were some of those were very gettable. Caldwell, I think he's kicked 5 points straight now since
the mercurial.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Goals.
Chuck him on the boundary line.
Took all the luck out of his foot.
Yes, just chuck him on the boundary and he'll kick goals. But perfect. You don't have to be phenomenal. You don't have to have 30 touches, 5 goals.
No, but
if he kicked a goal, that was beautiful. That was great. Yep. But 10 tackles, he had enough of the football. He used it well. he was a little bit. It was like watching a video game. The way he jumped for that mark, it seemed unnatural how springy he was for a 4 foot tall bloke.
But no, everything just worked well for him, and he's a good. I think he's one of those also a bit of leadership on the ground too. Like he brings a bit of the pointing, and you go get over there, and you get over there, you do that.
Yeah, well, I think that's evident to the whole team now, though. There's a lot of that.
I think so too, but I think that would be something he might have a say over Alwyn Davey. He's probably not telling guys to get.
Well, no, because he's a first year, but I think there's a lot more accountability amongst the whole playing group.
And Setterfield?
So Will probably dropped off in terms of the disposals since the first couple of games. Maybe hasn't kicked the goals. I don't think
still got another 100 fantasy points.
10 tackles. And I mean,
4 points a tackle.
He played on Oliver. I wouldn't call it a tag per se.
No.
Oliver had 40 touches, whatever. They weren't overly impact. He didn't get a coach's vote. First bloke probably to get 41 touches and not get
I think like vote. 20 of them came in the last quarter, didn't they?
Yeah, it was. He had like 10 touches to halftime.
So he did a lot of work in that last quarter when really they only scored, like they did outscore us in the last quarter, but it was only by 12 points or something?
Yeah, 9 points, I think.
Yeah, 9 points.
But I mean, when a player like that has 41 touches and they're not impactful, we're doing something right in terms of our pressure and our defensive setup. Yep. So that's credit to Will, but
our whole defensive structure. And the thing I was a bit worried about last week was the back six, sort of.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot.
Worried about how would they go against, but everything worked. Like even old Zerk Thatcher, who I thought was going to be dead.
Oh, it broke my heart. Yet.
Oh, I thought, oh no, we can't. And that's when we were up by. We kicked a couple, and I thought, we're going right.
Well, and interestingly, Melbourne kicked 3 in a row while he was off the ground.
Yeah,
that was one of their better patches.
That's what
I was
thinking. I thought, oh, we're gone if he's. That's going to really throw us out. McDonald will kick a few now, and anyway, he came back on and he played. Limped around, but did his job. Hopefully, he's fine for this week. Laverde did a really good job on his player. Did love his bump when Oliver came over to try and remonstrate a bit, and he's going to get out.
Bounce
and Oliver bounced back and went, "Oh, you're a bit of a hard unit." and Ridley, although I didn't see a lot of him, played well. Redmond didn't see a lot of him played well, but McGrath has really loved.
He looks confident. And that's evident in the pace, the kicking. Very rarely misses the target.
I think he's part of the real improvement of the team is because he's now, as I say, confident, and he's really helping us when we're in trouble deep in the back corner somewhere. If we get it to him, he's a good decision maker. He can sometimes butcher a kick, but you can see what he's trying to do. The other one, even go back to the coaches, the Hind was a great sub because he came on and was effective. Like he kicked 2 or had
2 goals
to kick one quarter.
Yep.
But I thought he does make a good sub because if a defender had gone down, well, he could go down there and be useful. And as it was that Jones had hurt his ankle, so he came on and played a smaller forward role.
I'm not going to take credit, but we did talk about Hind as a forward option last year.
Can't take credit for that. Right.
No, but we mentioned it, and I just got to throw that in there.
Again, are they listening, Sam?
No, but we're happy to admit when we're wrong, so we've got to take it when we're right.
Fair enough.
It's part and parcel. We digress there a bit onto the back six, but
sorry, I get excited.
You get excited about your defenders and your bloody ruckman. Yeah, I know. We can't really argue. We can't argue the ruckman this week. I've got a note here to talk about forward handballing.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. It was evident in round 1 as well, but that was against Hawthorn. So it's way more exciting because it's
There's 2 sets of play in that early quarter. I think maybe both in the first quarter, maybe early in the second. I can't remember where we moved it from our back 50.
Just boom, 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 draw the player handball, draw the player handball, and we always had one.
And look,
that's work rate.
Oh, it's work rate, but. Truck must have been a shit coach. Like seriously,
let's not go there.
He had 3 years to develop some things like that, and in the last year we were the worst at things.
Yeah.
Now, Brad Scott's come in, best Scott as we now know him,
original. Yes.
And all of a sudden, he's taught our players how to play footy. But I find it. I'm like, well, I don't get it, but I'm loving it.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, for Brad Scott's, and I've said this to you before, Brad Scott's a weird one. And only because I can't call him Scott and I can't call him Brad. I just have to call him Brad Scott. It feels weird to call him one name over the
Scott.
other.
You can't say Scott.
I can't just say Scott. I can't just say Brad.
Well,
We need to come
maybe
up
it
with
needs a nickname.
Yeah. Anyone? There you go. There's your task for the week. Best nickname for the coach wins that second sign jumper because the first guy didn't reply.
On KO, they had an interview with sorry, I digress, with Jonathan Brown, and Jonathan Brown they were interviewing Redmond after the game, and he said, "Do you know his middle name is something funny? It was like Harrietta or something like that." And Redmond was like, "Oh no, I didn't. I'll have to go have a word to him about that."
All right. In breaking news, Redmond dropped for Anzac Day. What were we talking about? Forward handballing.
Yep, forward
There's a couple of times. So just the sheer work rate to keep creating that loose player. And I know we got shots from it in the first quarter. Third quarter, Perkins ended up with a shot, not necessarily forward handballing, but just that ability to keep moving the ball forward.
And that was high percent of by foot too. We were moving it high 70s and even into the 80s by foot.
10% above league average.
Yep.
Bit of a hallmark. We've been in the high 70s all year. And so that seems to be the kind of play.
Well, here's a stat. Can I throw a quick one at you?
Hit me.
Our disposal efficiency is number 1 in the AFL, but it also was last year. So
it's how you're using the ball.
Yeah, so it's exactly right. So we can use, this is the thing about a coach, is that we seem to be able to use it well. He's just taught us how to use it well.
Well, I think last year we were sideways, maybe forward, then sideways or back. So there's a lot of kicks, but not necessarily going anywhere.
But still, we were accurate with our kicks. It's just
we have gone
the style of play didn't work.
We are polar opposite. Every kick just about is an attacking one forward, and we're working hard to get the spare. That means that kick can be effective.
Or we're moving around the wing, and if we see a kick to the middle, we take it. But if not, we'll keep going along the wing. So if we stuff it up and turn it over, it's a bad kick.
Remember,
we're not in a really horrible position. You know, if they get the ball, they're on a back, forward flank or back or wing or something like that. So it's not.
Another thing I've noticed too, which I was critical of last year, we handballed ourselves into trouble.
Yeah.
Now there seems to be a directive, at least just to kick. If you get under the pump, chuck it on the boot, and if you turn it over, it's 50 meters away.
Well, I think
but you also rely on your setup up the ground to make a contest out of that and not turn the ball over.
Yep.
And
I think another thing there too is that I'm noticing, and I noticed this in our game. I paused a few times in the replay I watched again. That our structure around the ball too is a little bit different. Like someone like Parrish is staying out of the contest, so if they can handball and then get it to someone who's got a bit more view to kick it, like he's still rushing the kick, but he's getting a little look.
He's explosive and he can actually run away from the pack too.
He was very good.
He was very good.
He's by foot and there's been a bit of conversation about him not tackling.
Well, as you just said, if you're starting on the outside of the contest, if that's the setup.
And the other thing too is I'm not overly critical because he's playing so many other roles. Like he's getting the football.
Yeah.
No point tackling when you're getting it.
If you got the ball, you're going to have to tackle. Yeah. It'd be a bit weird if you did.
Give it to them and then tackle them.
You might get some looks. Next, I mean, the next point, we're a bit all over the shot here, but it's just how I've written it.
It's just we're so excited. We don't know where to go.
We don't know what to do. I don't know how to, how to
we know this can't last forever, so we're just trying to milk it for as long.
Probably a little bit of a concern still, but then a reaction to that. So first quarter, they kicked 3 in a row when BZT went off. And then I think over... I can't remember exactly. Melksham might have kicked the last goal of the first quarter, and then they kicked 3 or 4, maybe 3 more to start the second quarter. So it's a run of 4.
And by then they're up by about like 12 or something like that.
It was a bit over 2 goals. Maybe 3.
Maybe 4.
And I think we both probably had the same reaction of, fuck. We had a great first quarter and it's seen enough. If they run over the top, well, it's Melbourne.
At that point, I was going, well, we've been all right. I'm pretty happy.
It's Melbourne.
Yeah. They're a good side. They'll kick 4. They'll probably get away from us now.
But we come out, we react, get back in front by...
Who's this, Sam?
Get back in front by half time.
Well, we didn't just... we stopped and hurt.
Kick 7 on the trot, which, I mean, I don't know how to Google stats properly. I don't know when the last time that happened.
7
against
on the
Melbourne
trot
Football
against
Club.
A premiership contender after they've kicked 4 against us. Like, That's a massive shift in confidence or
just mindset.
Yeah, mindset of knowing that let's get the game back into our terms and play it the way we want to play it, and that's what they did.
Yeah, and not only 7 in a row, held them goalless in the third quarter, and not like they kicked 6 points, they kicked 2 behinds. We kept a very good football side to 2 shots in a quarter of football. Yeah, it was raining. All right, that might be a little retort, but
we still kick goals.
I'm like you. I'm completely lost. It's a good thing I don't do a podcast because I'm speechless.
Yeah, the other thing I can't believe, like, we're I think fourth. I think for points 4 for the year, something like that. And when Peter Wright, a week before the first, not even a week, I think it was Friday night, wasn't it, or Thursday? No, it wasn't that late. It's like Monday or Tuesday night before the first game, he does his shoulder, and I'm like, fuck, man.
Where's Greg?
And Stringer's still not playing, and I'm thinking, oh God, we're not going to cook many goals.
I mean, it was an issue last year with Pete in the side.
Yeah. And again, I will look at the coaches from last year and go, well, what were you doing? We had very similar personnel. I don't think Elwyn Davies made that much of a difference. We didn't play. I think Menzies still he didn't have a very good game, but I do love the way he goes about it.
I want to come back to him later on, so let's not go there just yet. I want to mention just the sheer, I mean, this is kind of it's all work rate related. It's nothing new, but
what's a bit of confidence,
the willingness to tackle and harass. Sometimes you can't make the tackle. That's okay. The other players might be quicker than you, whatever, but you can still chase.
Yep.
You can still get a touch. You can still do something just to put them off just a little bit.
Yep.
And affect the kick. Happened several times. Durham sprinted 100 meters to catch up to Brady Grundy and got a touch.
Yep.
It ended up being a free kick, which I thought was a bit soft, but they got the advantage, kicked a point. But he affected the kick without laying a tackle. You can do
Stringer did it in the centre too.
Yeah. And so often, one of my frustrations watching football is around a stoppage situation where you have possession of the ball and you fumble once and that's it. It's gone. We did that to Melbourne. They had possession. We harassed. They lost the football.
Yep.
There were a couple of times where I thought our structures around the stoppages were seemed like we all committed too much forward, and then they had all blokes out their side. But for the most part, we were just the ability to create 50-50s. And that was a little bit self-inflicted on them. Some of their disposal was quite poor. But it comes from pressure.
Yeah, that's right. It did come from pressure, but they then bombed it in a bit to their forward line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which worked for us.
In the wet. That's not smart football.
Took a fair few interception marks.
I can't remember a time where we got better when it started raining.
No, that was another thing about the whole, this can't be happening.
No. And the commentators mentioned that you see the class of a player in the wet, and that's absolutely correct. Pendlebury's, they're clean. Nick Martin, as soon as it started pissing down that hard, you could hear it on the mic, had a half volley at his ankles that he picked up so cleanly. Holy shit. Sammy Durham took a really good, strong overhead mark. We just haven't seen it. It shouldn't be that big a deal, potentially, but it is.
There was so many things. And as I said, I felt like everything we did worked, which was so scary because I know that will not be the same.
We're not going to have days like that all the time.
Don't have days like that. And I think what's really the worst thing about it is that we've got Collingwood coming up. And I'm like, why couldn't we have had that against Collingwood?
It is.
Because I know.
Well, no, let's not go into Collingwood because we're going to touch on that specifically later on. A couple more things if I can.
Oh, please.
I feel like I'm talking a lot, but
that's okay. We won.
I don't remember when I mentioned it. I mentioned it in a pod this year that we look a bit, I don't mean this in a negative way, we're a bit weak in tackles. We don't hold on. And you said we're a young team. Maybe it's just a strength thing. Fair enough.
The youngest team listed in the competition.
We don't pin the arms. We seem to get done for crappy free kicks a lot. Not anymore.
Probably not best to pin the arms, Sam.
No, well, we'll get to that. I noticed a few times Melbourne players going head over the ball, which is fine. If your head's over the football and you're picking it up, that's not a duck. I think
100%.
the community needs to figure that out because it's
No.
infuriating. Anyway, we waited. We didn't go in. We didn't rush in for a tackle. Let them pick up the ball, lift their head, and then we hit them. It was just smarter tackling.
Unlike Spargo, is it?
Oh, God. I don't understand
He does-
probably Melbourne supporters having a bit of a go at it. But they thought it should have been a free kick. He headbutted the bloke's friggin' hip.
He does that a bit, though. I've watched Melbourne a little bit. That Spargo, he's a ducker. He's one of those ones that tries to put his head down and gets a high tackle. You know, like he does that. And he's just been shown that probably, and I think Gary Lyon said it, well, that's what happens if you put your head down in a contest, mate.
Yeah.
I'm
going to comment on the umpiring because we're critical of them when we have to be. But when they do well, I think.
Shit, like...
Well, let me finish my thought before you completely ruin it.
Doing good, really good.
I thought they were fine, and to the point where I think yes, there could be more holding the balls. That's always going to be open to interpretation. Last quarter, I was sitting there going, oh, we got a couple of free kicks. Yeah. I went, oh, that's probably not a free kick. Like there was 3 or 4 where I really thought that was a bit lucky, but I thought they were a lot better this week. That's all I wanted to say. I like to bash the umpires.
Well, my comment on the umpires is that so with the thing that we probably could talk about now is the Merritt incident.
Yeah, we can mention that.
Is that I have a problem with that in that if the umpires paid holding the ball a bit quicker, like if you've got a prior opportunity and you get tackled, you shouldn't have to wait a certain amount of time for the umpire to go, oh, he hasn't got rid of it, okay, holding the ball. Because what normally happens is it spills out and they call play on. And I don't think that's play on because I think that's incorrect disposal. And if you've got prior, then that's sorry.
Yeah, so pay the free kick earlier and you'll get less.
Or blow the whistle and just bounce it up straight away. Like that doesn't matter either.
And then you won't get the slings. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
While we're here, we may as well mention Merritt. Nice to see us appealing it. I think he gets off, and that's more in hope, perhaps, than anything else.
I have no idea because I couldn't work out the 2 from last week. What made 1 2 week and 1 week? I couldn't work out the difference.
I just, for the sake of Anzac Day, for the sake of the game of football, I know that doesn't matter. But just for the sake of it all, just let him off, please.
I'm living in the world where I don't think he'll get off because the AFL, it's their flavour of the month, and they're not going to do that. But I'll look at it as like, well, that'll give another player an opportunity. And remember, we're about the long-term growth here, not winning games just in the first season. It's about long-term growth. So
it is long-term, but when you're coming up against Collingwood on Anzac Day,
it's going to hurt.
I want Zach Merritt playing.
Well, they're going to be missing a few players. They got a concussed Murphy. Is it Murphy? No, one of their players got concussed, and somebody else. I was surprised Adams didn't get done for a sling tackle, actually.
Well, someone's just commented, Phil's just commented saying he thinks he did, so I am just checking that now.
I'll check that. You Phil.
Taylor Adams could miss Anzac Day after being offered a 1-match ban.
Well,
if they both go, that's consistent because they were pretty similar.
Yeah.
I would like to see them both get off, though, because I don't think either of them were particularly nasty sling tackles.
Well, I look, as I said, I don't really understand it at the moment.
No. And again, for the sake of the game, let them both off. Let's play Collingwood as strong as we can play. Let Collingwood play us as strong as we can be. And have
on the other hand, I don't want
if
they both miss now.
As long as it's consistent. That's all I ask for.
Imagine if Merritt does it. Adams gets off and Merritt doesn't.
Don't even speak that into existence. Because they'll appeal it. Collingwood will appeal it.
Collingwood have to appeal. Yeah.
Sure. Anyway, I mean, whatever happens. We got to deal with it.
I still think Merritt had half his body under the guy when he slung him to the ground.
And it wasn't that. Anyway, we could talk about it.
I just don't get it. I understand we're protecting the players, but like, how long until a player dives to the ground or pulls the, it's like players have learnt to fall forward to get, in the back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you throw yourself to the ground and get
Spargo, he's learnt to duck to try and get a free kick that way.
Yeah, silly. All right. One last little stat, and then we'll talk about some particular moments. Melbourne have lost 3 quarters for the season up until Saturday. They lost 3 in that game of football. Just to give you some context of how well they were going, 4 games of football. That's 16 quarters. They lost 3 of them. And we managed to win 3 or 4.
We need to. I mean, it's so hard to understand. Like we've beaten Hawthorn, who are rubbish. and we've beaten GWS, who are not much.
I think Gold Coast was a better win than
Gold Coast have been playing good footy. They pushed Freo. They probably should have won another game or so.
and it was
reckon.
hard football. It was tough
Yep.
footy. Like, it wasn't a walk in the park.
And they're down a few players too at the moment. And then we've beaten Melbourne, who were contenders, and St Kilda, who were on top of the ladder.
Lost.
We lost to them by only a couple of goals.
Yeah, 3 goals, I think.
So
it's going okay.
The next month is going to be a great test for us, as we keep saying.
Which we'll get to. Moments in the game. There's only really one I want to talk about.
Go. Set the scene.
Pissing down rain.
It's raining.
Half forward flank. Kyle Langford and Stephen May. Stephen May, multiple All-Australian, premiership defender, arguably Melbourne's, they're one of the better ever.
One of the better fullbacks.
Nah, not to Kyle. Shoves him off the ball. See you later, Steve. Picks up the footy, dribbles it through for a goal from 50, and celebrates 45, and celebrates accordingly. And I haven't
did the Sammy Draper little.
I haven't seen that kind of emotion from Kyle Langford.
He's
and
not a big celebrator.
He is turning into a very good football player.
No. I think he's always been a very good football player, but I think his body's let him down a lot.
Yes. Well,
he's always had talent.
That's semantics. He's been very bloody good.
He's hard now. I would hard to think he should go back as a defender. I know they will use him in that role.
I'll use him if you need to, yeah.
But he's clearly a more natural forward than a defender. When he goes down to defense, he can play the role, but he's a little bit less. He's a little bit more lost. Whereas his forward, he's at the fall of the ball. He's doing all the right things. He's doing things like that, Whereas his defender, he's sort of like, where am I meant to be?
Yeah,
I can still take a mark if the ball's near me.
We know he's a forward, not a back. But given the issues with height, then he's going to play defensive.
And that's why I played on the wing, because he was a forward wingman. He wasn't a defensive wingman.
That goal's symbolic of a lot of stuff.
Rusty Martin's turning into very good attacking wingman.
Yes, kicked a lovely goal in the first quarter through traffic and
2 for the game, didn't he?
Or just 2. Yeah. I have it here in front of me. He kicked 2. I can't remember the second one. But that Langers goal, that was the moment I really went, holy shit. We can win this game of football. We're up. It's not. That's a bit dumb halfway through the third quarter, but
it was just all working.
Yeah,
we were playing better football than them, and I don't know if they just were having an off day and things weren't working, or everything we set out to do worked well. And I think that this is a part of the football that we haven't had for a long time, is confidence. It's been a long time since. Okay, we've beaten teams that have been, like Sydney last year. We beat them, but then I think we got flogged nearly the week after. We lost the week after the Sydney, which was a big game. And there's been other times where we've beaten teams. It'll be really interesting to see if we can keep that momentum now into the next few weeks. And I think we've got a chance. I think Collingwood's going to be tough. Geelong, we can beat them because they're down some players. I don't think they're playing anywhere near their best footy.
Adelaide.
So, and then I think it's Brisbane and Port.
Port and Brisbane,
yeah. So they're going to be, and both at home.
We're going to know a lot more over the next month. We're going to know a lot more.
Brisbane are beatable, but just not at home.
Up there. I want to ask you about 2 players.
Yep.
This is a question without notice. What did you think of Archie Perkins' game, first of all?
He's quiet, but he can be quiet. It's Archie Perkins' way. He's one of those guys. He impacts the game when he gets the ball. Like that run you were talking about earlier, where he got down to the pocket and took the mark and then kicked a very good snap. Like when we'd had guys missing from in front.
Yep.
And then there was and then there was another one where he shook his big booty. Big booty. And kicked it inside 50 and set us up for another one. So he's a very, very talented player. A bit like Langford in that he's got the talent. It's just one day we've got to wait for it to click.
He's got to have time. He's 4 or 5 years behind Kyle.
Third year. Yeah. Second year.
Kyle, again, first name basis.
Second year or third year?
Third year. Yeah. Reason I asked about him, I thought he was there's a couple moments where I went, that was a bit weird. Probably rushed the kick a couple of times in a team that was handballing and, finding targets.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Bum long to no one a couple of times. Not a criticism, just comment.
No.
and I'll be perfect.
I think there was a few times when we missed handballs, like when we were trying to get that forward handball, and we actually missed a few. Langford, and that might have been the one you think that might have been Perkins who had an opportunity. Langford was coming past.
he could have handballed and didn't, and then kicked no one. Yes,
then he kicked it. Yeah, he kicked it basically to a Melbourne guy up forward, and I was like, well, but
on a similar vein, Jai Menzies. What did you make of him?
Oh, look, he had probably had his quietest game disposal wise in the first 5. I still think a player like that is really important in your structures. A bit like Jones is, they don't always have to have. A bit like Stringer, how he dragged May forward a lot and kept him away. I still think Menzies. We've got to have the small forwards in the team. You could argue maybe he has a rest this week. Snelling stays in and
brings Davey back in. Yeah.
Bring Davey or Tip and Woody, depending on how he's going.
Oh, I reckon Waller will get a bit more VFL.
Yeah, you're probably right. But I would like to see another small forward, another dangerous, fast forward against Collingwood because they've got quickness. They're quick.
Yeah, they are. 6 touches, Menzies. I think he did some nice things. I just think he was not very impactful. 9 fantasy. He played a full game.
I traded him out a couple of weeks ago. Happy about that. Could nearly bring him back in to be cheaper.
Yeah, you'd think he'd go down. I thought that was funny. Anyway, I don't think he had a particularly horrible game.
He wasn't great,
but you can't
have 22, 23 players getting 30 touches. Like that's just the name of the game sometimes.
Correct. The last specific thing I'll mention before we move on, Stringer. I find commentary fascinating.
Oh, they love.
By and large, Anthony Hudson's my favourite commentator. If he's commentating, I'll go, okay, good. I'm happy it's not Dwayne Russell.
Oh, yes.
From
the paint.
He sliced him, he enticed him, he sliced. No, I can't get over that. But their fascination with how heavily they think we rely on Stringer is 2021 kind of stuff. Like, I don't understand it. He had 9 touches, kicked 1 goal, 3. Again, could have been a very good day for Jake.
What's that in the kick 4? Was it 4-6 last week? No.
4-6. So yeah, it's 5-9. Which actually sounds better than both of them individually.
Yeah, 5-9.
But we're not relying on him to kick goals when we're winning. Nope. He's great. And I don't think it's been a real reliance on him for a couple of years, just the same. But he's doing team things.
He's likely to kick 5 this week because a big game. He loves it.
Big game, absolutely. But he's doing the team things. He's handballing off. He's finding options. He's dragging Stephen May selflessly forward so that another forward can kick a goal. Like
exactly. He's tackling. He's chasing.
If Jake Stringer can buy into that, everyone's gonna.
And if you can find a role like that for Jake Stringer, he will get games where he'll kick 6. Like because
he's still getting shots at goal.
Yeah, it'll all just fall into place for him one day, and he'll have a bad matchup, and they'll be like, "Oh God, we've got to switch that around." And then Langford will get, like that's. What system does is that when you get it working, it's not about the individuals. It's about everyone playing their part. And that's what we just haven't done for years.
Yeah.
Fucking truck.
Now, and Worsfold, before we move on to next week, VFL, we need to do the impossible task. It's a bit like we lost by 100 points. The impossible task of doing the votes.
Shall we tell the people?
Well... I wanted to do something, and then you've mentioned it individually. What's it called? Separately from me. So this is both of us have done this off our own bat, not through conversation, which I find fascinating. I'll give mine first because
we're both thinking the same thing, people, because we're so cute.
I'm the host. You can get stuffed. I could have given votes to every single player, just about.
Nah,
to start,
couldn't have, except for Menzies. I think that's clear. He didn't like his game.
Or Perko. No. I gave 3 to Merritt.
Yeah.
I thought he's just work rate, everything. I just love him, man. 2 to Draper. And that is symbolic of Draper and Phillips. I didn't put Flipper in, but the Ruckman won us that game of football. So Sammy could have easily gotten 3. Anyway. And I can't believe we're doing this.
Do it.
I gave 1 vote to Brad Scott.
Oh, I'm not doing that.
If you just hang me out to dry like that, you old prick. As we touched on at the start, to have an Essendon coach out-coach the opposition
Yeah.
And not just that, a premiership coach at Melbourne. He's just, I mean, I haven't had that since Kevin Sheedy.
No, it was the thing that I struggled with the most is that we've made decisions during the week that have paid off, they've actually outthought the opposition.
They've looked
look at that.
They've
It's
looked
like
at
those
an
guys
area,
up in the box get paid for doing something.
Looked at an area where we can exploit the opposition.
Yep.
And worked out a tactic, worked out a system to exploit that. And then again, fair play to the players who then go out and carry it out. But
it's going to be hard to be critical of the ins and outs this week after this.
Well, we will get to that. I need your votes, please.
Very simple. I've gone Draper 3. I thought he set the game up in that first half. Merritt 2. Brilliant. Love the way he went about it. He's the captain. He's really taking that role on. 1, I gave to Phillips. I gave to Brad Scott 2.
You've ruined that because the whole premise of this was that we
left you out to dry. No, Brad Scott got my 1 because I felt so excited about, even as I said, down to the sub. He came on and kicked 2 goals.
Yeah. I like how we independently came to that, and that was the beautiful thing about it, is that we both individually wanted to give Brad Scott a vote, and then you just hung me out to dry.
Very easy to do.
Like that.
I'll go first. I'm the host.
Anyone want to do a podcast next week? I'm happy to sack him.
So it just have to be named Nate. Sam can't be bothered typing anyone else's name in there.
Just have to have a beard, really. That's all I'm here for. It's the only reason we're mates. Is that beard. I'm just jealous. Yeah, all right. Well, there you go. I don't think Brad Scott's going to win the best and fairest for the Don Pod, but he'll have 2 votes.
He's going to have a vote at the end of the year.
Yeah. First coach in Don Pod history to get a vote.
No, I'm trying to temper the enthusiasm because of what's coming. It's the arch rival. It's the most stressful game of the year because we don't play in grand finals. So
not yet.
Probably closer. So I will be struggling on Tuesday. Struggling.
It's important to raise that because there's 2 things. One is that we're just not used to it. That kind of football.
It's been
the 4 quarters so consistently, so good in a game of football is unbelievable. But also, I think we're still realistic. Well, for me anyway, I don't think we're making finals. I think we'll drop, maybe fade a little bit towards the end of the season, whatever. I'm still realistic about where we're at. So it's great to see those brilliant patches of football, but I don't expect that week in, week out. So,
and I think that's
it's important to celebrate and recognise how good a bloody win it was. It's also important to go, okay, 1, can we do it consistently across a month of football? If we can, holy shit, we might just be premiership favourites after the next month.
Why not?
And 2, we're still very young. Like, we don't want to dampen it, but
no, I don't want to dampen. But I need to see it another week. I need to see it against Collingwood, who are the form team of the competition by a stretch.
And we're going to get that because we got Collingwood, we got Geelong, we've got Port Adelaide.
Let's be excited about the win,
Brisbane.
But let's just.
We're going to find out a lot.
Let's hope we can be competitive against Collingwood. Beat one of the 3, as in Brisbane, Geelong, and Port, because they're all Port at home, reigning premiers, and Brisbane at home. Have to be 3 hard games you're gonna come across.
Well, apparently we play Adelaide Oval quite well. Hopefully it's raining.
Hopefully it's raining. Yeah. Because we've played well there in the rain before. I remember.
Yeah. There's 1 or 2 games. Yeah.
So, look. Port of beating teams, anyway.
Well, they're inconsistent as well. But I'm so torn between just enjoy the bloody win.
Same. I'm so torn.
And get up and about, and also it's probably not going to last, but that's okay.
I'm at least a little bit happier, to be honest, if the Adams thing's true. So
it is. It's on the AFL website. He's been suspended. He's been offered a week. So
excellent. So that at least now I'm not so
Don Pod exclusive.
Yeah, I'm not so. Oh God, we're going in without Merritt. If we do, they're out without Adams.
That's okay, yeah.
So on that question, who would you say Merrick doesn't get off?
Okay.
So that's a high chance.
Great segue. You know how I'm a fan of a segue.
I'm going to buy you one for Christmas one year.
A segue, nice. It's like you do it deliberately. The VFL, We did lose by 40 points to Casey, who are the reigning premiers, who are a very good AFL team over the course of 3 or 4 years. No coincidence coinciding with Melbourne's rise. We kicked 5 goals for the day.
5 goals 12. 5 goals 12.
Voss kicked 2 of them, so still some good form there for him.
Yep, good to hear.
That's 40% of our goals. So if we kicked 20, he would have. Oh, I've stuffed it. He would have kicked. Oh, why did I do it? I had it in my head and now I've lost it and I can't think.
God, sorry. I apologise to all the people out there.
You would have kicked 8. There you go.
Let's just move on.
I was trying to pump him up. Leave me alone. And Hobbs had 30 touches. I think Hobbs is possibly the replacement if you were going to do an in and out.
Yep.
Pre-podcast, you mentioned a reshuffle. Caldwell into the guts to replace Merritt essentially, and then bringing Davey back in for that forward line role. That makes a lot of sense. I think there's a good opportunity to reward some good form from Hobbs.
Yep.
But I also think if we're managing Davey, then he comes back in. I don't see what there's.
No, I don't. Davey's been very important in our structure, the run and chase. Like Snelling was great. He doesn't go out.
No.
And maybe, so I guess there's maybe question marks about Zerk Thatcher and how that ankle pulls up.
Well, Jones definitely, given he went down the rooms and there was subbed immediately, that's a concern.
Yep, and Jones was going to be another one. So maybe that's where Voss gets his shot. But look, as I said, look, it doesn't matter. It's about the system that we're trying to put in place that guys can come in and play a role, and that we're trying to look towards improving over the long distance, not the short term, because that's where we've gone. Because what we've done before is we've won a few games in the middle of the year, got to the end of the year and drafted somebody from, Greater Western Sydney who thought was going to make a massive difference to us, and it turns out, no, we haven't.
You Brad Scott in disguise, because that was very well articulated.
Well, let's just try and improve gradually and just keep building on the players that we have. Not
Brad Scott did mention it in one of the press conferences, in that we play a system, it's a system-based game plan, not a player-based game plan. So that'll put that to the test, because we're already short of tall. It's our favourite saying.
Well, we should get it on a T-shirt.
It should. And now no Jones. But Jones was very good against Melbourne. He didn't have a lot of football, but he's, again, that competing. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, you then almost have to play Draper or Phillips permanent forward.
Yeah. I think you have to bring in a Voss but
Voss isn't that tall.
No, well, he's 194. Like you have to bring in another forward. You can't. I think if you send Draper down there to play a permanent role, because he doesn't play the lead up, you need to find a lead up, get up to contest kind of guy. Now, Voss can do a bit of that. I don't know if he can play it.
Is Baldwin fit?
I don't think no, he injured himself a couple of weeks. He was concussed and then missed an extra week, I think.
Yeah, okay. Is the other ruckman fit?
He played one game, Bryant. You can't go with 3 ruckman.
Well, no, but you just have to then cop it playing one of them forward, because.
Well, you just have to play Langford, and you have to play an extra small. You go the other way.
That's very short. Oh, he did play.
Who?
Nick Bryan.
Yeah. He had a few hit-outs.
It's just there's no key position. There's no key forward. Even if you play Hobbs, even if you play Langford, there's no key forward without Jones.
No, you're right.
That's my issue. And that's why...
Wiedemann.
What happened to him? Concussion?
He got concussed. He's missed his week.
He's still on the shorter side of that argument, I would have thought.
Wiedemann?
Is he one the 195?
I don't think he's a key forward. I think you'll find he's...
You know how bad I am with heights?
Oh, he's taller than 195. I think you'll find he's closer to 200 there, buddy.
1.96.
Okay. He's the replacement if Jones is out. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to do some quick Googling if you don't mind indulging me.
I'll just fill in there. Yeah, I think it's Wiedemann. If Jones is injured... What?
According to Wikipedia, Jones is 185. I don't think that's accurate. 196, they're the same height. There you go.
There you go. Shut up, Sam.
Shut up. Exactly. I'll cop that. They're just that one's so much thicker than the other.
Where have you seen them?
Wrong podcast for that.
No, well, if Wiedemann's fit, if Jones has got
an ankle
injury, then he has to come in.
100%.
If he's concussed, if the concussion is hanging around, he doesn't. And you just play someone, and you don't worry about the player you're bringing in. You hope that the coaches come up with a strategy like they just did with the ruckman. Like,
Speaking
just
of
play a full game. and you
No.
know,
I don't think so.
you really don't want an extra small in there, do you? Because the thing about Collingwood is, I reckon what I've noticed that they're playing well is their pace. Like, you
Yes,
got Nick
correct.
Dacos off the half-back line. You got that McCreary. You've got
It's not just player speed though. It's their speed of ball movement that's
and
going to really test that team defense.
Yeah, but they're pressing right up. So
Yep.
you've got to get it. One of the things I think that you can beat them in is getting over the back. If you can play that forward handball, and then get over the back of them, you're going to get a lot of space. So anyway,
on that,
I will trust our coaches. See if they just both got votes in our.
All right. Well,
we do a podcast. They do the coaching.
Put your Brad Scott hat on. Put your Brad Scott podcast hat on.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, yeah, perfect. If I didn't know better, I'd think I was talking to him right now.
Yeah, Kevin Crow's concert.
Yeah, I know. What do we do about Dacos? I think we've gone past the.
I don't know, to be honest.
Easy possessions. They're meaningful touches. He uses the ball so well.
Yep. Because if you tag him, I think what you have to do is you have to say whoever's on him, you have to hurt him, like by kicking goals. So if he's playing a halfback role and say he tries to wraggle his way around to Davey, which you think would be what he'd be trying to do, or Menzies, he'd be trying to find our worst forward. And there's no offense to either of those guys. Just that's what he'd be trying to do. Then those guys you have to hurt, you have to kick 4 or 5. Like that's what.
Well, it's a good point you've made without really making it.
What do you mean?
Hurt them on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because I don't reckon you try and stop him. I reckon because they look for him. That Collingwood, the players all look for him because of how well he uses the ball.
So the point I was going to make about hurting him.
Yep.
He had 42 disposals and 37 possessions. I don't know how that works. Anyway, 31 of the 37 possessions were uncontested.
Yep.
Hurt him. Body on him. Make him fucking earn that football. And it can be a defensive forward role.
And I reckon you run the risk of giving away free kicks there. And
well, he's going to get the ball anyway.
Just no, I agree. I understand what you're saying, but I think that you need to make him accountable, and you say, well, whoever's on him, you need to hurt, as in scoreboard.
Yes, but if you can also be really physical and contested against him, his history
with every player. You shouldn't just let him get a free run at it.
His history is not contested football. So,
but you don't want to be giving away free kicks like that, because that would be the thing I don't like. Is I don't like if you look at those first 2 goals that Melbourne kicked, they came from like Laverde gave away a 50 for dropping the guy around the chops, and I reckon the other one was from a free kick too.
No, Cozzy Pickett kicked the first one. It was a turnover on the wing.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I mean, he's dangerous, and we know that.
He's going to get 40 touches because I don't think they're going to send like a Caldwell to him. But they could send a Caldwell because Caldwell plays as a half forward, and they could say, well, I can tag, and he can tag very well.
He can. He played a very good game on Lachie Neale last year.
Yep. But then you go, well, then Caldwell probably won't have an effect maybe as a forward. So maybe that's what you want. I don't know. I will trust the coaches and go, well, yep, that didn't work or that did work. Because
first mistake.
I think there are 2 options. You go hard on a tag on him, but then you look bad if it doesn't work. And I reckon Port Adelaide suffered that a few weeks ago when they said, oh, yeah, we're putting a player on him. And it just, like, Dacos had about 30 by half time, and they were looking, so they dropped the tag and then he got more. Or you don't go near him, but you just make sure that you got to just, yeah.
And it is still team defense as well.
Of course it is.
That's
we've been doing that well. He can't the thing is he can't mark the ball overhead he's not that guy. So I don't know, put a tall on him.
Yeah, we've got plenty
put Langford on him. Make Langford say you're his run around with him.
We've got so many of them to go around.
Well, a taller, like Dacos would be 180.
Bring Voss in.
4 or 5 or something like that.
Chuck Voss on him. He's a tough prick.
Voss would kill him. Voss would just rip him in half.
Yeah. Just one fend off, break a couple of ribs.
Yeah. We will see.
We will see.
I might have him as captain in my fantasy team, though.
You give little faith. On that, then
42 touches the last few weeks. Here you go.
I think we've done the ins and outs to death. Give me a tip.
I'm going to go Bombers. Well, I didn't last week. I went Melbourne by 26. Which...
Yeah, so keep that going would be my suggestion.
Oh, okay. Collingwood by 24. No. I actually think that the ruckman will have an influence on the game. Our ruckman over there, lack of.
Really?
Yes, I know that's clearly
like you to
obvious.
think that.
I think we're playing a similar style of football to them in that, pushing up defence style thing. So I'm going to say confidence over the Melbourne game will carry us over. Collingwood are rolling with confidence. Like they are spitting confidence. Like they are just like, we can beat anyone. Like they don't care. So.
Did you give me a tip after all that?
Essendon for 12.
Thank you.
Fuck you. I thought it was pretty clear.
Well, yeah, but I need a number.
Okay, sorry. We're writing this shit down.
Yeah, well, no, but right. Essendon by point. All-time classic Anzac Day. 95,000
I'm not
people.
watching it.
No, neither will I. I'll pass out.
I'll have a little harder. Sam, I'm at that age where I could be,
I was just squeezing. That's not the word I meant. Taking a squeeze through the social. It's live, folks. I was just trying to find some comments. I've kind of referenced some comments as we've gone through. There's been a couple that I've just talked about just because it seems to flow a bit better. So apologies if you have commented. And I don't talk about you. Phil's given 3 votes to Merritt, 2 to Draper, 1 to Langford.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I have a lot of arguments there.
I think there's a lot of guys could get that 1 vote.
Yeah, 100%. All the coach.
Parrish, McGrath, I thought.
The coach.
Probably the only one
Angus
who couldn't get the 1 vote, actually.
Angus was probably fuming that we forgot about Wiedemann's existence. He's told us that
we apologise for that.
We're not perfect. That's why we do it live. That's why we do it.
He hasn't played a lot for us, to be honest. Like he's missed a few weeks already out of the 5.
McGrath's the obvious choice. I guess if he's in the half.
McGrath plays as a defender. What would he be doing? That would mean that he would have to be.
They cost us a bit all over the shot. He's not exclusively a half-back flank.
Oh, I reckon if you looked at his heat map,
he kicked 2 goals against Brisbane.
Doesn't matter. He's still getting a lot of footy off the half-back line and starting running from there.
Yeah.
He's got free roam. He's allowed to do what he wants.
Yeah.
A couple, and then he gets the ball at the other side too.
Couple of comments on the tackle. Phil was the one that triggered me to check Adams. So thanks for that.
Oh yeah, thanks, Phil.
Thanks for that, Phil. That's a quite
good news.
It's in between us, isn't it? Thanks for that, Phil. Anyway, that's about it. Lots of comments, lots of people getting in there, but we've kind of touched on everything in there. So,
did anyone mention the bar flies? Was it the bar flies?
No, the wine flies. Someone did mention the wine flies.
Was it wine flies?
Yeah, this is thrilling content to end the podcast.
People are probably just if they're in their car or jogging along now, they've got what the?
What are they on about?
Just turn it off. I'll go to that other one I like.
No, we're the best. Clearly. I did. I'm trying to find the comment because someone gave me a nickname for Brad Scott, but now I can't find it.
Yes. Bullshit.
Ledger, because he's an angry prick and you want to get on the right side of it.
Sorry, what?
He's an angry prick and you want to get on the right side of the ledger.
Ledger.
I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
Reminds me of Heath.
Well, yeah, I guess he's a sexy man too. So I mean,
maybe we should call him Heath.
Just Heath.
To go from Ledger to Heath.
Or just no friends.
Why no friends?
Got no friends.
Scott, no friends. Oh. I thought you were like making some joke because Heath Ledger's dead and he's got no friends.
Whoa, no, I wouldn't go there.
Well, that's why I thought you were going.
Oh, I certainly wasn't.
I apologise to all the people that are dead that are listening to this and may be offended by that comment.
Our dead audience. I would have them writing in. That would be worse. That would be worse.
Calligraphy pens because they're that old. So you're right. The day.
Right. All right. We're going to move on from that very quickly. I think we've pretty much covered it. I think it's a good time to be a Dons fan. And that's not something we've been able to say for a very long time. So enjoy it. Enjoy your week at work. Hopefully, 1 or 2 Melbourne supporters if they're not already up at the snow. We work with one, but he's a pretty quiet chap. So
he's a lovely bloke, actually. He's not even, I couldn't even rub it in. Like, he's too nice. He's
never mentioned football to me once without me mentioning it first. So, they're probably all up at the snow anyway by this point.
It's not that cold yet.
The D's fans.
Trust me, I live near the snow.
I know that. And then it doesn't matter. Missed the point. That's fine. All right, that'll be the Don Pod for this week. Next week will be probably a special edition, I guess, on Tuesday night.
Oh God, it will be
Fresh
too. Oh, that'll hurt. Oh God, I hate when we win.
Maybe you can't yell into your microphone because it cuts out. Just remember that for the purposes of those at home. Tuesday night, 7:30, and it will be raw. It will be so very raw. Tune in. Not one to be missed.
You can't make me do it.
If we win, we'll probably have a few beers in. If we lose, we'll probably be a few beers in. So can't lose, really, can you? All right. That will do us. Just enjoy the week. That's all we have to do now. Just enjoy the week after beating the reigning premiers in the wet in Adelaide. Go Dons. Farewell, Nathan.